Well, hello there. I found the right button, and you're in the right place. If you're looking to get in touch with that affirmative word, the word that is in the positive, YES. So tonight, by, I don't know, I guess somewhat popular demand, at least among some of us on the panel, we are going to be looking at one of the works by the great progressive rock band, Yes. It's the album entitled Tales from Topographic Oceans. We're going to be looking at the story behind the album and talking about some musical moments in the album and the meaning behind them, at least as far as I was able to research. And we're going to see because artists a lot of times don't want to give the full mystery behind their works, and that's understandable. But we as explorers will be finding as much mystery as we can. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce, well, not introduce, but I'm just going to pop on stealth mode here so you don't have to keep staring at me. And I'm going to introduce my colleague here in life as well as in this stream. Please welcome on Lysis Sahido from the Psyche Electroacoustic Opera Company. Hello, lady.
Hello.
So, I guess you didn't quite do your homework this week.
No, I'm too busy to have homework. But before we continue, I'd like to send Scott a shout out, our diehard, because he supported me on my earlier stream today. So yay, Scott!
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
awesome. Yeah, Scott is our rock. And as soon as Mike comes on, we're also going to look at some of the chats before the stream started. Because I believe Robot, another one of our great supporters there, has some insights that she wanted to share. So we're going to check that out. But as I mentioned just now, we have a guy named Mike that we're going to bring on. You know him for just about every week.
Who's Mike? I don't know Mike.
Well, he flies in like a mountain hawk.
Oh.
Hello there, Mike. How are you doing?
I am doing fine, Lawrence. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah.
Liza.
That Mike. Okay, here we go.
Mike. Who are you? Oh, wait, that's a different band.
Who are you?
Oh, my goodness.
Over them another week.
Yeah.
For tonight, though, one of my favorite bands growing up.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Yes is one of those things where there's a lot of great songs and there's a lot of, well, I mean, a lot of great albums and stuff, but there's sometimes I can hear them, sometimes I need to take a little time away. There's one thing about it, and whenever you're hearing Yes, you know it. I mean, it's
Absolutely. Well, and
so
you know, it
clear.
was nice to revisit this album because I hadn't really listened to this album in years because back in the day, it really wasn't one of my favorite Yes albums, quite honestly. So I have re-listened to it. It's still not my favorite, but it is a very good album. So
Well, yeah, it was something, and we'll talk about this. It was something where, at the time, it created a little bit of controversy among fans. Not like anything big, not like politics or anything like that, but maybe just
God.
like the way in which the music. Well, we'll talk about it when the time comes. It was a little bit. I mean, obviously, it did well enough, and it's become part of their lineage and everything. But the band did change right after that, and
Oh yes.
we'll talk about that a little bit.
Hmm.
But anyway, first of all, does anybody want to check on the chat there? There was a chat left by
Oh,
Robot
oh, let me
fairly
see.
early on, and something about Rick Wakeman. And I was hoping somebody with a little bit better vision than me would be able to read that off for us.
Well, I did not know this that Rick Wakeman played on Cat Stevens' "Morning Is Broken."
Oh,
That was news to me. So, thank you, thank you.
I also learned due to this, he played on a Black Sabbath album, the one that was being recorded at the same time in like the same studio. He basically went over and visited those guys when he wasn't working on this album. And
Huh?
well, there's a little bit of a story to tell with that. It was a bit disappointing in some ways. And
Do you know
we'll
what he
get to
was
that.
on?
We'll see the graphic coming up. I think it shows the
Okay.
album there. I don't know. I don't know Black Sabbath that well.
I
I
do,
don't
but
know.
I did not know. Yeah, I was not aware that he had played on it, or I'd forgotten. I don't know, but
All right. Well, we'll
and
check it
also
out.
Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, that has quite a bit of synth stuff on it.
I
But
think that might be it. That's probably it. I'm sorry, I'm not a big Black Sabbath person. I'm well, anyway.
yeah,
Um
Black Sabbath and Cat Stevens, that's very closely related music there. Wakeman is very, very versatile.
yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's take a look at this. We're going to look at some pictures here and talk about, how this album came about first. Then we're going to do some listening. We're going to listen to some stuff and talk about that. And all around, it's going to be, I hope, an enjoyable evening. I really did enjoy kind of learning some things this week, and it was definitely not a chore to get through. So I'm happy in that regard. Tales from Topographic Oceans, released in 1973, towards the end of the year. In the US, we did not get the first track release until the new year, January of 74. So, but in the UK, it was released on December 7th, 73. And as you see before you, that would be like the back of a two-disc vinyl, where the right side would really be kind of like the left. If you're holding it like a book, it's like the first page of the book, the title, and then the panel on the left there would really be kind of like the back panel of the book when you folded it up. So anyway, that's how the album did look, and we'll be talking a little bit about the artwork as we go on. The artwork was by Roger Dean, the storied artist behind a lot of the album covers. Yes, in his very unique and original style of artwork.
Oh yes, I have some of that on my wall.
Oh yeah, otherworldly and very otherworldly, but still somehow I don't know. For
Like
me,
Salvador Dali? Like,
well, very landscapey, but not just this world landscape, other world landscapey.
oh.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
not as much trying to play with your mind, but
No.
just take it somewhere else, I guess you could say. All right, so the story begins with Bill Bruford and Jon Anderson. Bill Bruford was the first drummer in Yes and had been for 5 albums. This album was to be their 6th studio album. It would be the first without Bill Bruford on drums. But before beginning the album with Alan White on drums, Jon Anderson had a bit of time to stop off at Bill Bruford's wedding. And so
Oh, is that what that is?
Well, no, this is just a picture of
Say
Jon
that
Anderson
that
and Bill
looks like in
Bruford.
high school or something.
Well, they were young then.
He's very young.
Yes. And so that's that's the two of them, and that just happens to be some picture of the two of them. And they met some at this wedding. Jon Anderson ran into somebody by the name of Jamie Muir, or Muir, depending on how you pronounce it, the percussionist for King Crimson at the time. And I think we are kind of checking out a bit of a, shall we say, I don't know if it would be called a clique or, shall we say, a bit of a network, or maybe just a lot of artists that kind of knew each other and were exploring, at least if you look at the whole entire musical landscape, they were exploring some regions that could be called similar, at a similar time period, between King Crimson and Yes. Would you say that's true, Mike?
Yeah, there's some, yes, and there's some differences, but yeah, they were kind of in that progressive rock vein, so I'm sure they had communications. And Bruford, of course, went from Yes to playing with King Crimson, so
Yeah. Yeah, well, enough of a connection that Jon Anderson at this wedding was talking about his desires to do something bigger with Yes, because they had already gotten a comment from some critic that, oh, Yes is just going to put them. Next thing they're going to do is just set the Bible to music, and that wasn't a commentary on necessarily. Um, I mean, they explored spirituality definitely, and it's a big part of Jon Anderson's purpose in writing. But it wasn't that they were going to necessarily do something that was like a Christian album or anything, but just the idea of taking an epic work like the Bible and setting it to music sounds like something they would do. And Jon Anderson took it as a challenge in trying to do something that was a programmatic work, a concept album that that explored a large, powerful topic and in its entirety. And so he really kind of started off wanting to do like a 2 album set and long pieces of music instead of shorter song forms. And so that was a large part of the desire. And talking about some of his interests, Jamie Muir said, "Well, how about you do something on this?" And he handed him a copy of this book, um, Autobiography of a Yogi,
Paramahansa
by
Yogananda.
yes. And I was curious, Mike. I think isn't Yogananda a title, so to speak, or is it a
Mm,
last name that is put on yogis' names? Because I remember one of the guys, the that John Lennon and the Beatles kind of got into for a bit was somebody named Yogananda, um, Ashish Yogi or something like that.
mhm.
So I don't know if Yogananda is a title or whatever, or it just got. I'm sure people thought about it and they didn't just throw in. I don't know, whatever. I think it's probably a title that you get and it becomes part of your name after a time as a yogi. I
Well,
don't
they
know.
they do have different titles, but uh, I was thinking it's the first one. I'm sitting here looking it up. So his name says literally translated means supreme swan. Paramahansa is a Sanskrit title of honor bestowed upon individuals who have achieved the highest level of spiritual realization and enlightenment. So it's the
Oh,
first one.
wow. Okay.
That's what I was thinking because I've read. Yeah, I mean, I read that book like when I was
Or
in my 20s. You know.
or maybe your whole name kind of goes away and there's a title like Paramahansa added and then Yogananda and maybe from a collection of other names, because I know this other guy also had Yogananda there, and I don't know that they're both this like, from the house Yogananda or whatever. But anyway,
Okay. Yes, it is because I just looked up what's his real name. and I'm gonna butcher this to hell and
Go
back.
ahead.
It's Mukunda, Mukunda, Lal, Lal, uh, Ghosh, Ghosh. So yeah, obviously both titles uh, have a meaning.
All right. So I guess if you do enough Yoganandaing, you can become a Paramahansa Yogananda or a Ashish
Yeah, so the
Yogi.
first one is a name of honor,
Okay.
and then the second one, Yogananda. Okay, Yogananda is a Sanskrit name that means bliss through union with God. It is,
Okay.
so it's part of yoga, union, ananda, bliss. So given to an Indian, yeah, okay. It was
All
given
right.
to him because he introduced yoga and meditation to the Western world. So yes, the whole name has
Yeah, it becomes a whole new name. Well, I guess
yes.
well, it's something we also have in
There we
Western
go.
society, the naming of a pope and so forth. And
Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
So
as you go throughout your spiritual journey in life, you do take on, I guess, different names for
well, they
different
do. Like
stages of understanding.
if you've ever heard like Pandit, they'll say Pandit Ravi Shankar. That's like
Yeah.
Pandit. It's an honorary, but that's a Hindu one. And but anyway, yeah, there's a few of those. Well, there we go. They got the behind the mystery of that.
Okay. Yeah. We got there in the end. All right. Thank you, Mike. So anyway, in this book, well, this is someone that also did get some Beatle attention before that as well. Um,
Oh yeah,
and that he was on the cover among many other people of
Sergeant
Sergeant
Pepper's.
Pepper's
Yes,
Lonely Hearts Club Band. And so I'm wondering, is Liza still with us?
she might have went and got
Yes.
records. Oh, there she is.
Oh no, no. I was just typing to excuse myself to get them, but
Oh,
folks, we gotta make Melody Robot a mod so that she can share links
okay.
in her research because we've been going back and forth and it's inconvenient for her to have to email us to get information to us. So yeah, after the live, we got a
Oh,
mod
actually, I can
Robot.
do it right now.
Oh, you can mod Robot now? Robot, you're
Yeah,
being
there you go.
modded.
Let me
Dun
see
dun
here.
dun. Dun 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 dun.
Add
Dun
as
dun
moderator.
dun.
I dub the um, lady robot.
Robot, you've
Yay!
been modded.
There was much rejoicing.
Yay!
And the final button has been clicked. There we go. That's the
Okay.
final tap on the head.
So she is a mod. No.
Yes, she's now a mod.
She's a
Yes.
mod.
Just so you can get your crackers.
Okay. Thank you. And,
And cheese.
Robot, see if
Cheese.
you could enter the links now because you have been modded by
Been modded.
Squire Lawrence. So
All righty.
there you go. I'll
Very
be back,
good.
folks. I'll be back.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering because she had not been flashing up some of the chats, and I was sure that we had some by now that would have been great to share. But we'll get to that as soon
Oh
as she
yeah,
gets
we
her
got.
crackers. Oh, there she threw one. Eraserheads with us, great.
Yay!
So I'll also let me know, Mike, if you see any chats worth.
Well, yeah, I've been looking up that other stuff. I hadn't been paying attention either. So
They think it's easy doing these streams. It's
no,
not.
no, no. So yeah. Some nights I'm terrible at getting in it. So, but yes, thank you, Melanie Robot. Look forward to these links. And hello, Flav. Hello, Eraserhead. Yes, we're just all hailing each other at this point.
Hell, Flav.
Hail,
Yeah.
hail.
Folks,
Well,
Oh,
I'm going to
yes,
step
the
out for a second. I'll be
Vina.
back.
okay.
We
Here
have a
she goes.
Vina.
There she goes.
We have
There she goes
Saraswati.
again. Okay.
Uh,
Now,
am I seeing this right? Yes, yes, I am. You have Saraswati.
well, it's Shruti. All right, let's have a little background here. Basically, in this book, there's four different shatras, which not to be confused with chakras, but shatras are verses of ancient Hindu text, and there were four shatras included in obviously Yogananda's writings, and so these writings about these four shatras were the things that Anderson had keyed in on, and then he used them as they themselves weren't the titles, but he drove the titles of the four parts of this album from these different shatras. And the first one, the shatra name would be Shruti,
Right,
and
that's the Vedic text. I was referring to the goddess that you have pictured there is Saraswati,
oh, okay,
and she
yeah,
is playing a Veena.
I didn't know Sarah
Sorry for
that
the
well.
confusion.
I didn't know Sarah that well, but I
Yeah,
think.
that's one of the well, being into music and Indian music.
But who wrote that song? Sarah, Sarah, no time is a good time for.
Well, it doesn't sound very Indian to me, man.
Well, yeah, who wrote that though?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, some rock lore there. Someone might be able to know in our chat. But anyway, the piece of music on this album, Tales from Topographic Oceans, was The Revealing Science of God. Now, there was a subtitle to this, and I'm going to skip ahead to the subtitle so we get this all in the same go. There's
Mm-mm.
four parts, so let's skip over 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Oh, here we go. So this was another name for it and some artwork assigned to it. It was called Dance of the Dawn, or was it Dancers? I think I might have a typo though.
No, I think it's Dance of the Dawn.
Dance of the Dawn. Okay, just a dance, not the dancers themselves. And what Shruti is about is basically knowledge imparted from the gods to the leaders of like the Hindu faith. And so for me, it's like I prefer those that are more of a direct connection rather than religious leaders. But in any case, that's what it was about. And here, I guess Jon Anderson perceived it as more of like imparting knowledge or revelations of, in this case, he felt it to be like the science of God, like learning about God, finding the truth in the behind the mystery. And I guess you could think of that as somewhat of a science, depending on how it's done. But I guess in this era in the 60s, where there's an explosion of exploration going on, and I think they probably could have thought of it as almost embarking on a new science, I guess. But in anyway, that's the titlings. And then part two is called The Remembering. And I believe the next title for this, or 1, 2, was something like High the Mind. Nope, not that one. The one before, part two,
By the
was
memory.
High the Memory. Perhaps when the mind is high, you get a high memory as well. But that was also based on water, just like part one was based on earth. So there was two basings or two things that these things were derived from. Smriti, which was the second of the shatras being explored here, which of course Jon Anderson called the remembering, or high the memory. And this deals with basically how the people of the faith spread the faith through their stories and tales, is what Samriti is about. And I guess almost like the oceans and water spreading out. And then next we have the Ancient. This is Shatra number 3. And the name for this as a Shratta is Purana. And Purana literally means the ancient. And basically this would be like the knowledge of the ancients and stories from the ancient world and how they basically influence the thinking of today. We will see part 3's second artwork and title coming up. I'm tired of just scooting back and forth between these things. But then part 4 was called Ritual, which is what Tantra literally means, a ritual. And so it was, you've probably heard of Tantric yoga. It doesn't mean that that's the only ritual yoga. It's basically a word that was applied to it, but it literally means ritual. And so it's our rituals and so forth that we use to connect with the divine. So anyway, moving on, there's part 1 and part 2. I've shown them already. Part 3, Under the Sun, is the second title. Oh, Giants Under the Sun is the second title for Purana, or I forget, what was it? I already forget what part 3 was called. I mean, we're looking at titles and subtitles here. The Ancient. Yeah, Ancient.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, Purana basically literally means ancient. And Giants Under the Sun is the subtitle. Yeah, Giants. What do you call those? The Elohim. There were giants in those days. Usually not meant to be taken literally by most interpretations of the Bible, but there is the other interpretation as well. And then part 4, Nous sommes du soleil. Now this is French, and I'm not sure what somme means in French. I don't know if Mike's quick on the draw still to look up what. But it means our something of the sun. I know soleil du soleil means of the sun, like Cirque du Soleil is circus of the sun. And the sun is something that's a very common reference in a lot of Jon Anderson's work. But son.
Well,
Don't worry, folks. Welcome to We Look Things Up on Earworm.
yeah, I was. You usually get a real quick, translation. There we go. We are from the sun.
We are from the sun.
That's what it means.
All right.
Yeah, I've been opening Google stuff all over. I've got way too many Googles open, but I've I want to check out these links that she's been posting later. So
Yes, she just got it. Well, she had it before us, I'm
oh
sure.
yeah, I'm gonna check
But
them
thanks
out.
to the delay. Well, we are from the sun, and the sun is the fusion reactor that has made the higher level elements within our solar system. So there is truth to that. Yeah, we have here a picture around those days of the making of this album of Rick Wakeman on keyboards, synthesizer.
Am I seeing double?
Are you seeing double?
Yeah, in the picture.
It's small, I guess, and probably blurry.
No, I'm seeing double, man. I don't know what was in that pizza I ate earlier.
You're okay. Well, I'm glad to have you with us.
Are you really not seeing double in this picture?
Like you're saying, the two
There's
blonde people
double
on either
of them.
end.
There's a double exposure happening.
Thank you, God. I thought,
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
what the hell am I having a?
Well, my vision's screwed up anyway, so
I
I'm
don't
normally
think.
seeing.
Have you ever dabbled in analog photography?
No, well,
Just as a kid, when we still had film,
Yeah.
but
That's-
I wouldn't call it dabbling in analog photography. I just call it me and camera.
me again. Yeah, I didn't get too technical.
Well.
But anyway,
Yeah.
there's
Well, if you have double vision out there, folks, it's not your fault. It's ours. So Rick Wakeman.
yeah, you had me for a minute. I'm sitting there going, okay, maybe I need to go lay down. I don't know.
We are
Yeah.
controlling the horizontal and
Yeah,
the
it's like,
vertical.
Anyway, so we have the We had this picture here with Bill Bruford gone and Alan White in there.
Yep. So I'll just run down for anybody interested. I'm sure most of our chat knows Rick Wakeman on keyboards and synthesizer, Jon Anderson vocals, also plays tambourine. Steve Howe is the guitarist. Chris Squire is the bassist. And Alan White, this is his first studio album with the band. So we have four of the original members there: Rick, John, Stephen, and Chris. So recently departed was Bill Bruford, but it was amicable. Jon
Steve Howe was
Anderson.
not an original member.
Oh, he was not.
Peter Banks was the original guitar player.
Oh, any relation to Tony Banks?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I have you there,
going
Mike.
after Time and a Word on the third album.
Oh, well, geez, I guess they changed their lineup pretty quickly early on.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, so did Genesis. I guess it was like basically whoever could do it.
Yes has been a family affair for years. They've had different people in and out.
Yeah.
Some better than others, but.
All right. Well, we do like to focus a little bit on, the synthesizer stuff here. And when we're listening, we will do that a bit with Rick Wakeman. Interesting about this album is it ended up being his last. He had some disagreements with some of the decisions made on the album, as well as like the idea in the first place was a little bit weird for him, and what they wanted him to play and so forth. And we'll touch on some other things later because they basically started, like Steve Howe and Jon Anderson got the ball rolling on the album from a late night session. It was a really long, like trance-like session of coming up with ideas with lyrics and mapping out what would be done in this epic work. So guitarist and vocalist working on that. That was in Savannah, Georgia. So not too far from us here in North Florida. But in Savannah, Georgia, on the tour after the previous album. And so they started that early before the studio gigs started in the UK. And so in working on that, they were mapping out some of the stuff for the album then. And that was kind of like in the countryside there in Savannah. And they wanted to preserve the countryside in the studio, or at least Jon Anderson did. He and Rick, even though Rick wasn't into some of the other ideas, he liked the whole country studio thing where they would go out in the country and kind of like put the generators underground so they wouldn't have to hear them, and run the studio machinery, like the analog reel-to-reel tape and mixer and all the stuff for the studio above ground. I don't know, man. That would have been tough to seal that stuff off and then get down there to fuel up the generators again. But that's what they wanted to do. They ended up having to just kind of dress up the studio with some farmy and country like stuff, and including a cow. And so they had like a model cow that they kind of put together in the studio for the session. Now, the studio they recorded in ended up being a studio put together by Emerson, Lake and Palmer at the time. And I think it was called Manticore Studio, and there was a second name to it. I think there was a name for like the name on the inside and then the overall building. Morgan Studios or something like that.
Oh gosh, they stole my idea for our studio. Look at that.
Yeah, cow.
Yeah, we need. Well, for us, it would be like a giant cat.
But in one of the studios at the time, there was also, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, by the boys at Black Sabbath, were also in the studio at the time. And Rick Wakeman would stop over and they had him play on their album a little bit. But he insisted that he not get paid in money, so they paid him in beer. And I guess that's where he kind of like let off some of his frustrations in making Tales from Topographic Oceans.
Well, he did end up with the drinking issues, so.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah.
And but the boys in Black Sabbath ended up vandalizing the cow, and that upset Rick though, and he was kind of disillusioned with a lot of stuff going on at the time. But I guess the drinking probably didn't help. But yeah, the cow did have an effect, I guess, also. But anyway, after they finished this, it started in May 20th. So it was like almost exactly 52 years ago, because we're on the 25th today. And when I was researching this week, it was May the 20th of 1973 when they started working in the studio. And it lasted a good long time before they got the master tracks out of it. And the master tracks, when Jon and Steve were leaving the studio, were left on top of the car, as you know you sometimes do. To get the keys out, you put something in your hands on top of the car and then forget it's there. And that's why it ended up on the ground, in the street, in front of a bus. And that's the kind of buses they had back then. Probably still do, in the glorious city of London in the UK. So hang on a minute, get those tapes out from under the bus. So they did. Fortunately, they weren't smashed, although some fans felt they probably should have been. But in any case, we do have here, after release on December the 7th, the pre-sales, meaning the pre-orders, did have the album release as gold in the UK. It took a few more weeks before it was gold in the US, because the rating systems were different between the countries due to population. But yes, so it started off gold pre-sale. So a lot of good, shall we say, good vibes coming from the audience, anxious to hear what this thing is all about. And as said before, there was a little bit of a divide there as far as how people felt about it. And so I guess, Mike, you were in the camp where you felt it was not like the greatest thing from Yes Yet, huh?
No, yeah, I didn't at that time. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't hate it or anything, but I just, yeah, I mean, it, yeah, just, and of course, Yes Songs had come out right after that, which was from the '72 tour, so it didn't have any of this on it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that
Huh.
I was
So
more
Yes
into that.
Songs came out afterward,
Yeah, it
but
came
it
out.
was like
Both
live.
came out in '73, but Yes Songs came out, and that was actually the first thing I saw. I went. My dad actually took me to the movie theater. God love him, and we saw Yes Songs, and they had it in Dolby sound. It was louder than a concert. I was
Huh.
amazed my dad stuck through it all the way to the end.
Wow.
And then yeah, so anyway, but yeah, Topographic Oceans is already. But here's the thing, I got, well, what was I in, like seventh grade? The most popular kid in school brought in these. I don't know where we got a record player, but we had a record player, and he brought in these Yes albums. And he's the most popular dude in school, so oh, I got to check this out. And at first, I was like, man, I want to like him. I want to like him. I I don't know if I like this. And but I kept listening to it, and
But you already liked Yes, right?
no, I know at first I I didn't hate them, but I didn't.
Oh, so this was your first exposure.
Yeah, yeah, I think he had Relayer, which
Oh,
was
okay.
actually after Topographic Oceans.
Yes.
So yeah, I came in, like, I think I saw Yes Songs in '76, and I actually saw Yes for the first time in '77 when Going for the One came out.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, yeah, so I'd already listened to a lot of other stuff, but my first listen to Yes didn't really do much for me. And then it just kind of grew on me, and all of a sudden, they were one of my favorite bands.
Right.
So
All right. Okay. So it was just kind of like it took a little while for it to sink in. I
yeah,
thought
and
maybe at first you were like a fan that dug the band and then just were questioning this album, because there was people like that too.
well, yeah, well,
But
a lot of people didn't like the 20-minute songs because I mean, one of the things Wakeman didn't want to tour this, But the album before that, Close to the Edge, was only 3 songs. It was one song on a side and 2 songs on another.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty long too. But the thing with Yes, after listen to them, and it's not really like one continuous song. It's
No.
they might come back into themes, but it's
In
and sometimes
fact,
parts are written by different members.
what I'm doing here is I'm calling up our uh our YouTube music page here for the album. And I think we will play a little bit now, and then we're going to go on and look at this documentary. That a lot of the images I've been showing are from this documentary, and I do want to feature that documentary. I have a link for it in the description. I hope that some of the people that watch this also do watch the documentary afterward, because it was very good work done by somebody that's on YouTube by the name of Rael. It's The channel's called Rael's Progressive Rock Documentaries. And but in any case, I do want to point out something you're talking here. I think one of the things that was difficult first is, in hindsight, we look back on things now and say, "Oh man, yeah, these bands at this time started doing that," where they was like, the number of songs was smaller, so the songs were longer, and things would take up whole albums. Like "Thick as a Brick" was just basically all one continuous piece of music by Jethro Tull, and so we don't think of that as new now. I mean, it was something that was definitely of the time, um, and it's something that went away quick, I guess, because the music industry preferred the shorter song model, and while this may have built up some fans of like some niche types of listeners, it was not, I guess, for the, what they call the masses, which tend to be, a lot of people also that aren't as into the music and are more into the fashion and so forth, or what's just going on at that time, or it's music for background. They're not there like intently listening to every moment as it comes up musically, as many of us do. But anyway, here we go. We can see like the length of these songs are around 20 minutes each. One 18-minute there at, part 3, but the rest are about 20 minutes each. And so they would take up a side of a vinyl each. Not that they would max it out, but they also, when making this music, wanted to make sure that it was long enough that it could be one track on each side of the vinyl, 2 records, 2 sides each. And so that's 4 songs, and 4 was important to the number of kshatras he was referencing, as well as the elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And then of course the titles, that's all in the mind of Jon Anderson and Steve Howe. I believe they were the ones that brainchilded much of this, and then other things, of course, in the music came from the other members as they were included, but a lot of the direction and meaning was from Jon Anderson and Steve Howe. So anyway, I think I'm just going to start off and play a little bit here, and I'm going to say a little bit of a warning to anyone watching on the rewind. If you're seeing this and it's not live, you're seeing us after the fact, still welcome. But usually I leave in music that gets copyrighted out, basically. In order to be monetized, I will have to trim out the music, and that happens automatically, usually either the next day after the stream, or last week we received a super chat, and Flav, one of our great audience members, provided a super chat, and that I said, well, that generosity deserves some generosity, where for the rest of the week I left the stream intact, and only today did I do the auto chopping via YouTube to remove the copyrighted music. Now, when I do that, I also include links to the stream on Odyssey and Rumble, where things can be heard in their entirety. But for those of you, if you just hear music not be there when I'm about to play, that's why. But I do usually try to leave it up for the next day so that our friends from the UK can check it out during, shall we say, friendlier hours. But in any case, we're about to play, so that means this will probably get clipped, or definitely get clipped, because those bots are in full effect. So we're going to listen to part one here, not the whole thing. Just some parts that I do want to mention, because another thing is, if you think of this as, okay, it's one piece of music or one song, I guess it's more than a song, because really a song is a certain variety of forms of music with lyrics and a kind of like verse and chorus and bridges and certain structures in them that we call, parts of song making. This doesn't have that. But, in our vocabulary, we kind of use the word song, whereas it could better maybe be described as a movement of music. And it does have multiple themes in it. So here we go. This is the Reawakening Science of God, also known as Dance of the Dawn. Yes, and here we go. 1973. Picking up where I left off. Wow, it has a memory to it. Let me go to the beginning so you can hear what fans first got, or what Mike first got when the coolest kid in school played Yes for him. Those are ocean waves. If you're listening on cell phone, it may not be picking them up great at this point, but they're kind of like dull sounding ocean waves.
Yeah, they kind of ease in.
And I can sense it coming now, that first theme. Wee, wee, wah, boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Wee, wee, wah, boo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Here we go. Rather than have me sing it, let's play it, because there's no great pause point. It's pretty much continuous. Although
No.
there is one, I do say, I love the beginning. I love this intro and this theme, which does reoccur throughout this section. There is a shift about few minutes from now, like something like just past 8 minutes, I believe. And in that shift, it's like a really abrupt, just just like all of a sudden, a fast riff. And it was just like a sudden shift that I was like, I felt they could have transitioned into that and it would have been better. But in general, the concept and the ideas coming out of this through the lyrics. I hope Liza's paying attention to the lyrics. And
I can't understand what they're saying, but
okay, I had a feeling you were
I,
going to say
I
that.
would need a transcript, but I didn't think it needed a
I have them on
transition.
screen.
I can't read it. It's so small.
Oh, well, look up the lyrics for Tales from Topographic Oceans.
There you go.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
and I think looking back in
well,
hindsight.
you didn't hear the transition or lack thereof yet.
There, what I thought you meant
It's coming up. It's something
the
that didn't
section
happen.
between the vocal
No, it
stuff
didn't
happening.
happen yet. The one I'm talking about didn't happen yet.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, the transitions are fine so far. Everything's great. I love it so far. It was just a transition coming up here. Well, I should say lack thereof. It just changed. It just pops in. And so I don't make too much of Swiss cheese. I don't think I'm going to continue playing more directly from the album on this movement. I think what we can do is play the summary from the documentary on this movement. But before I do that, I just want to see if Mike had anything to say, if he wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I was as well. It's harder on this, but I listened to this the other night, and there are a lot of intricacies in this that when I think back to when I was listening to this as a teenager, it was probably on a crappy, stereo with a mediocre needle, and I think, this music here has a lot of intricacies in it that I think are missed or not as good as when you listen to it on something better. Because I was noticing things, yeah, I mean, it'd been years since I listened to the album, but I was like, there's all kinds of little things in there. And, and maturity, obviously, as a musician, having a greater appreciation for it. So I think it was just the space I was in at the time. But actually, the first one was Relayer, which came out was the
Mhm.
next studio album after
Yeah.
this, and was also one song and then two on the other side. So,
Yeah,
but I think it's the same thing, same point as I just made.
I accidentally called it Recycler last week.
And it's so wild because now, man, I mean, that is a bitchin' album. So,
Yeah.
I mean, time and maturity, listening to music, this happens with a lot of bands. I mean, my buddy was, when I was up in Ohio, we were listening to, Flaming Lips song, and I was like, I never was a real big Flaming Lips fan. Now I love this song. It's
Mm.
like, so
Yeah, it does grow. I mean, some of the,
huge name.
shall we say, the more involved pieces of music take time, for them to grow on you.
Right.
And then they tend to last longer rather than the ones you fall in love with real quick and then they disappear,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, or
yeah,
they
yeah,
become
and
less
likewise,
interesting quickly.
sometimes music that you liked way back when, you're kind of like, it's all right. But
Yep. Well, I'm going to play this. This is the documentary. The link is in the description. I'm going to skip the intro of the documentary because we've already done that. So I need to kind of search here for where we're at, and let's
The
let's
UK
see.
charts over the
Right about
Christmas.
there is where we left off in my slides of the intro of the documentary. So now what we're going to do is hear this documentary's commentary on the part one of Tales from Topographic Oceans.
And New Year period. I often wonder how many families must have felt a little. The initial mix of this track was 28 minutes long, and it was cut for its first release. The 2003
Initially
reissue
28 minutes. And it was whittled down. Well, one of the things they were also hoping to do with this is the form was also dictated by how they wanted their live shows to go. And they wanted to have sections that could be expanded if the audience was loving it, and contracted if the audience wasn't as into it, or if they felt they needed to shift to something more up tempo quicker, be able to get there quicker. And that's one of the things that Rick Wakeman wasn't quite sure about either, was just like, oh man, kind of doing that on the fly. But apparently the shows worked out pretty well, so
yeah,
that wasn't the problem at all. Maybe it was just getting used to the complexity of the music and the length.
well, and at the time this came out, I don't know if they could fit 28 minutes on the side of an album.
Yeah. Well, it started off as
Maybe,
gold
I don't
from
know.
album sales, but I don't know what they released. They probably had to release on the radio like a shortened version of something. I know that at that time some
Oh
radio
yeah,
stations would play longer versions, but not
yeah.
all, and some would.
Well, yeah, yeah. I know, like with Relayer, they took out of the last part soon, and yeah, I'm sure they did. I'd have to look up what they did. I don't.
Yeah. Here we go. Maybe robots telling us. Who knows?
Robot is relaying the lyrics of the song you just played, and I still
Oh,
have no clue what the song is about. I have to research what,
well,
all the
here's
references they
also.
used.
Well, part of it is, I guess, he wants you to also hear the lyrics and come up with your own interpretation through experiencing the music and the lyrics. Part of it. It's based on something, but it's not one of those things where um, you need to do your research and find out what it really means.
Oh yeah, Jon Anderson
Like
was
like the
famous for
answer
that.
is just there. It's more of those things where it's like you will approach meaning from listening to his lyrics and listening to the music, and what comes to you is not to say it's wrong. you know uh, I guess there could definitely be something that departs from his vision, but he's feeling that you're not going to be too far from what he's laying out for you. It's not like you need to find the definite underpinnings, because a lot of this was conceptualized by him and Steve Howe, and was not, it was not firmly based on kind of like what the inspiration was. These shatras were inspiration, but they're going to go with it from there. They're not going to just, you know.
So, do you think the lyrics were like stream of consciousness type things?
Oh yeah, especially from that Savannah, Georgia evening.
Wow.
The way that was described.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go.
However, introduced the original crashing waves and synth intro. I feel that this was a masterstroke because it set a completely different tone for the whole track. It also strengthened the Hindu concepts of Shruti that deals with God and the creation of the universe.
Now, I don't think I think the first one was, oh yeah, it was Shruti, but Smriti was the one that was associated with the ocean, interestingly enough. But anyway.
In what is a real standout moment for the album, the opening vocal chant centers around 4 concepts: the dawn of light, the dawn of thought, the dawn of power, and the dawn of love. The opening lyrics overlap and intertwine like the Hindu ever-opening flower, with its endless caresses and everlasting life. The song plots mankind's evolution, emerging from God through sea, land, and air, dancing from the ocean. It describes our reaching out for knowledge and love, which we sometimes lose, chasing it late into corners, and also laments mistakes that we make and forgetting the wisdom we once knew so well. It's a real statement of intent.
All right, so I think that's about as good of a description as you're going to get. And I think that does make a lot of sense. I mean, this is, you know, part of what Shruti is about is imparting knowledge to mankind. Now, it's saying through like the great visionaries of the faith, and so that's where I got hung up on, like, some Hindu priests or something like that. But maybe that's not the main point. The main point is just expressing this. Uh, in many ways, the idea is that God is trying to understand Himself by bringing Himself out through all these life forms and creation, and exploring Himself, which is also part of the creation. And so it's a self exploration by God through many eyes and ears and through many forms of life, learning from each other. And if you think about it, from our scientific understanding, the sun or the stars in the center of every solar system basically creates all the elements. The universe was basically all hydrogen, and it had to get to heavier and heavier elements through fusion. And the stars were the fusion reactors that made these heavier elements by fusing hydrogen atoms together, and then they'd get layered more and more and more and more complex, and heavier elements would fling off to further parts of the solar system and so forth. It's almost like yeah, like both Carl Sagan and Delenn from Babylon 5 say, we are made of star stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to mention it
Well, you
and
could
take
have.
us off into another adventure I'd like to take on earworms.
Well, and what would that be? Oh, Babylon 5.
Oh yes. Oh
Oh, yeah,
yes.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Doesn't every Trekkie also love Babylon 5?
I can't speak for every Trekkie, but I love it. Yeah.
There are Trekkies in the chat.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They
No.
can tell us. So
Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
I did watch it. I started to watch it. I just don't watch much TV anymore. I liked it. But I think I only watched like one episode, so it's hard to really get into something watching one episode.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between watching TV and watching things on something like a television. Because we don't watch TV, and we haven't for like well over a decade now, where we don't watch whatever's broadcast or put on.
Oh yeah, no, but I just
We watch recordings.
I'm lucky.
Eraserhead wants to start a battle in the chat, but I think he's right. Babylon 5 is greater than DS9. And I love DS9, but I have to admit that it is better. So
The overall story, if you take it from beginning to end and everything. I think the
Babylon 5
overall,
is
Well,
yeah,
that's what
the
I'm
overall.
saying.
superior.
I don't think I have can formulate a proper opinion based on watching it once.
Okay, yeah.
I need to watch more
Oh no,
episodes to
it
have that kind of an opinion.
it had long story
Look,
arcs.
yeah, I mean, look how long it took Star Trek to get going. So, the original series. So,
Mm,
I mean, and it was not well. I mean, it almost never had a second season. So,
yeah, still all great stuff. I mean,
absolutely.
we just finished our rewatch this year of DS9, and we enjoyed it. Um, we'll probably be rewatching Babylon 5 in several months. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's just like this may not be my favorite album, but that doesn't mean it's not a good album.
Oh no, it's a great album,
It's a great album. So,
and especially hearing like the major themes from that first movement. I mean, I love it, and the lyrics combined. I mean, you could definitely. You got to read the lyrics. It's hard to understand them, but you got to read the lyrics and fuse it all together, and you will find something there. Um, Maybe as a piece of the divine, you will go and explore that
yeah,
meaning and learn from it. I don't know that Yes was trying to give you answers.
I was going to say, I don't think Jon Anderson wrote with the intent of a solidified meaning. I think he was kind of out there with your interpretation. I mean, he might have had there was obviously a structure to what they did here, but it wasn't to impart, hey, you should believe this or you should think that. I think it was more like meditation. You listen to this, meditate on it, whatever, and formulate what it means for you. So,
Right.
which is, yeah, Hindu stuff is kind of like that anyway, to a large degree. You meditate and what does this mean for you?
Yes. And
Yes.
on another note, I know we this is taking a little bit of tangent, but we are about to talk about, I guess, the second movement here. But before we get to that, I just do want to do an announcement. Once again, really love the fact that we have a core audience that's been hanging out with us, Eraserhead, Melanie, and Flav,
Woo!
and Scott, of
Yay.
course, holding it down.
Well, we got some new people in here today.
That's
We
awesome.
say welcome to Wendell Wiggins.
Welcome,
Welcome
Wendell.
to Wendell Wiggins. Woo.
www.wendellwiggins.com. Yeah, it's but the thing is, this is the second week now where Mr. Brown Alliance uh, didn't say anything to me, but they were going to start up streaming again after a 15-minute break of when they stopped. And of course, so we started, and they're probably starting streaming now, which is perfectly fine. And everyone's welcome to do that. But since this is 2 weeks now, I think we probably need to, maybe set our Eastern time zone 7:30 time as like our starting time, and that's when we're going to start, because we can't really predict what Brown's going to do. So I think for our audience and for their sanity, we're probably just going to stick with 7:30 as our start time, no matter what happens, whether they end early or start up, because they're not even doing, mostly I wanted to make sure it was fine when they did the, what do you call that? The linking, like the automatic redirect afterwards went to here, but since they're streaming again afterwards, it doesn't go here now. So, basically, I'm going to say we're going to solidify our time slot and we appreciate everything Mr. Brown has done for us and helping us over this past year, to, encourage folks to check us out. But we're going to have to like solidify a start time now and
Yes,
stick with
Flav,
it.
we're starting now. No matter what, 7:30 Eastern time. I
Well,
don't
that
know
will be
what
half
that is
past
for you.
midnight in
Ooh,
the UK. They're 5 hours ahead of
wow.
us. So yeah,
Ooh.
Brown is starting a second stream at 12, or just did. But we got to do that because, I mean, first of all, we can't wait for another stream for however long they go. And we can't, who knows, the amount of time variance between when he may stop and when he may not may stop. It's just too wide, and especially if he's going to be streaming and not redirecting people here anyway, then it's like, okay, so what? Why should we worry about what he's doing? Why don't we just start when our audience is here? Because we don't want to, we got some folks, even though we're small, we're mighty. We got some folks there, and we don't want to just kind of like just say, okay, you guys got to wait a half hour, or you guys got to wait an hour. And we can't do that to the people that are coming
I
and
agree.
spending time with us. So we're going to keep it 7:30 Eastern. So if you're Pacific, that's 4:30. 6:30 Central, 5:30 Mountain, and in the UK that'd be midnight. I mean, you'd already have had like about 2 hours of Brown by that point. So if you want to join us, you can. If you want to stick with Brown, you can. It's all good. There's no hard feelings. Don't start any like streamer controversy rumors.
Time is a good time for goodbye.
Yeah, I was singing that earlier. Who did that?
I don't know.
Sarah. Is that REO Speedwagon?
I don't know. I do not know. I know the song. I have no idea.
Our audience said we're not even going to tell you because we don't care for that song. Let's see. Who wrote the song?
Man, we're talking about Yes.
No, we're talking about Yes. Educate me about Yes.
It says Stevie Nicks. Sarah? No. No. That's
not right.
Actually, I think Stevie Nicks did sing a song, Sarah.
Yeah, but not
you
this
just
one.
Don't sound like Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, well, no, this is a different song. You never heard that. Sarah, Sarah, no time is a good time for goodbyes. You never heard that?
I don't think so.
Man, what happened to you in the 80s?
I hated the 80s.
Oh.
You did? Oh, no.
I'm not a fan of the 80s. Pop music of the 80s. Let me rephrase that.
Oh, okay.
Flav has a super chat.
Oh, yeah.
Super chat from Flav. 5 British pounds.
He's super chatty.
Yeah.
Please do me the honors, Liza, because it's
Flav is saying he's trying new stuff because his engagement is falling off a tad. You guys keep doing you.
And, thank you very much, Flav.
Melanie knows who did it. Starship.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that to add insult to injury, that was Jefferson Airplane or Airplane,
no,
Jefferson Starship. Well, I know it wasn't, but it kind of.
There's a reason Yorma and Jack left and formed Hot Tuna. They saw what was coming, and they.
Well, there was Jefferson Starship in the middle that was on the Star Wars Holiday Special. Another one of Mike's favorites.
Yeah, they had a couple already songs,
but thank you.
They were going very poppy, but anyway, they're not Yes. They were great.
Flav, your super chat is
greatly appreciated. And yes, folks, we're gonna do us, and there's no hard feelings at all because I check out. I'll check out his streams after the fact and stuff. I love Brown. And I like the gang there.
Yeah, YouTube is difficult, my friends, and sometimes you need to change strategies in order to, stay relevant. If you built a business on here or a career, you got to do what you got to do, right, to stay independent.
Well, he may be. I'd love to have Brown's engagement. So I'm almost like watching him, like, dude, you're doing fine.
Well, the thing is,
I don't think he's gone. The subscriber growth has slowed down, but he's got like thousands of regulars that are just, watching.
Yeah, but you really don't become at least where we live, with the low cost of living where we live, you really can't, pay all your expenses and also have, what the government calls a disposable income on YouTube until you get to 10K. And so that's just the way it is.
Well, and there's plenty of other factors and stuff like that. But anyway, we're going to move on here with our subject, which is, let's keep things in the pause. No, we're still being positive. I mean, definitely check out Brown whenever.
We shall
After
all
the fact.
get to 10K. It
Yeah,
shall happen.
we shall all make it. Even Mike. We're gonna get Mike there.
We're gonna get Mike there too.
Even
Yeah.
Mike.
Even Mike.
Oh
Mike, we didn't mean
no!
it that way, Mike.
We built this city on rock and
Keep it up.
roll.
Keep it up.
You're annoying Mike.
Yeah, I might just, you disappeared to get crackers. I got some leftover pizza waiting for me.
Oh, leftover
Oh
pizza.
no!
Yeah.
Been a while since I've had pizza. Here we go.
Endless caresses for the freedom of life everlasting.
The Hindu Shruti themes echo in lines like, "I can't believe our song will leave you," and the idea that God's knowledge is passed on to the gurus. Whilst lines like, "We receive all we venture to give," reflect the idea of karma. The music is excellent throughout, and perhaps more than anywhere else on this album, there's a real balance and harmony between the instruments. Part of this song originated in the Fragile recording sessions in a song called All Fighters Past.
Fragile is another album. Some of these concepts were derived from there, and then some of them went on. Like the concept of the relayer is something Jon Anderson used in the later album as well. But in the lyrics and as a concept, it was in this album.
Dude, what's with this medieval stuff?
It's good stuff.
Anderson wanted to create a calming sea of music with this piece, which employs a vast array of different instruments and is largely dominated by Wakeman's swirling keyboards and the rumbling undercurrents of Squire's bass. The music evokes images of oceans, rain, waves and turbulence, whilst the lyrics refer to rivers, sailing, seagulls and compasses. Ultimately, the listener sails beyond the topographic ocean and into the skies and distant suns.
Yeah, that organ sound is awesome. The reed organ sound that Wakeman used.
And that cape, man.
Oh,
Let me tell
I
you,
like that.
the second time I saw them was when they did the tour in the round. They actually had a round stage that turned,
yeah.
and went down to see him in Cincinnati. I was 6 rows from the stage on the floor, and I was on the side where they came out, and we ran. When they all come out, they had the smoke machine rolling through the tunnel. They came out, and I walked over there, and I'm pretty damn sure I touched Rick Wakeman's cape.
Oh, Mike. You
Oh,
took some of his DNA.
and what year was that?
1978.
All right.
Wow.
So that would have been after he came back.
Hey man, if you touch Rick Wakeman's cape, you'd be bragging about it too.
Well, I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Well, he
You
has
can
more
hardly
than
see him. They're
golden
running
cape.
through the smoke, and here comes Wakeman with the long hair. But he's running out through there. His cape's flapping and stuff, and we're all waving our arms and shit. And I was like,
What was the significance behind the golden cape?
Well, it wasn't specifically one. He just wore these flamboyant gowns with sequins.
It's stage attire. People had their stage attire. Some bands still do. I mean, some bands are into stage attire, other ones aren't.
Well, the thing is, when Peter Gabriel wore the red cloak getup for that piece we were talking about last week, there was a meaning behind it. I'm just wondering, what was there something significant about the golden cape?
Well, I remember seeing like purplish stuff too. So he wore different get-ups, but all of them kind of like I guess there was people wearing a lot of these things at the time. They're kind of modeled off of some of the like Indian gowns and stuff that were worn, and kind of like it was very hippie-esque. Remember Captain Peacock in Are You Being Served when the store went hippie for an episode?
Yes.
That's kind of like the stuff. Yeah.
I have an answer for you, Liza.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Here we
Okay.
Man, you
go.
gotta love Google.
Here we go.
Okay.
And there was nothing about the color. Rick Wakeman wore a cape on stage primarily to address a comment that a critic made about him looking like a, quote, demented spider, end quote, while playing the keyboard. The critic's description was inspired by Wakeman's extensive use of keyboards and the way he would stretch his wrist and, because he had them in a circle. So he initially got the cape from a fan who offered it to him at a show, and then had his own custom-made capes made after that, according to Wikipedia.
Wow.
Well,
Really?
yeah. I mean, we're going to see some.
Someone insulted him, and he became self-conscious.
We're going to see some
Apparently.
pictures. We're going to see
Wow.
some pictures.
Okay.
Well, maybe it was just also
Yeah,
like,
because if you look at his keyboard setup, man, he'd have one hand over one, and he'd be stretched out. I don't
Yeah.
know,
yeah, he had them all around him because that thing the presets were physical patches and stuff like that. So he had to have multiple keyboards for different sounds,
right.
and they were all around him, so he could some of them. Sometimes he's playing two sounds at once from two different keyboards on either side of him.
Plus,
So
it just looked cool.
yeah, and it just
it looked
with his long blonde hair, and he's tall, and he's kind of like wearing these shiny gowns, and I guess a cape and everything, and he just like it's like who's that?
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, Robot makes a good point. It's like Liberace and Elvis.
I'm sure he'd love the Liberace reference.
Maybe. Who knows?
We advance, we retrace our story.
The reference to the relayer is an Indian guru who passes on his divine knowledge to others. This echoes the Hindu concept of Smriti, which this side of the album is supposedly based around. When it was played live, Wakeman was afforded the opportunity to branch out with an extended mellotron and mini Moog solo.
Oh, Mellotron. Oh, have you heard of those, Liza?
Wait, the name is familiar. Remind me. Mellotron.
Mellotron. It's a keyboard instrument that had little audio lengths of cassette.
We need to do the Mellotron one.
Like
week.
basically
Okay,
little
yeah,
analog tape segments in it that would
was-
play like little mini cassettes, but it was a sampler. Basically, you recorded to the cassette for that key, and then you press the key, it plays it back, and so forth. And you can play
Well,
it back at
popular.
different
That sounds like an Earworms episode.
I
we need
think
to
we
do
should.
Mellotron.
And you
Yeah.
know who also, and it was very popular in that time frame.
The Moody Blues.
the Moody Blues, but Robert Fripp,
Okay. Of the aforementioned King Crimson.
King Crimson, Robert Fripp. Yeah, if you listen to like Court of the Crimson King, Greg Lake's playing acoustic guitar. There are some guitar parts in the song, but that is a Mellotron playing the keyboard part, and that's Robert Fripp. Which is right up Fripp's alley. What you just said is the description. So
Yeah.
anyway, yes, a Mellotron. We should do it.
All right. That'll be happening at some point. Next week is our 1 year anniversary. It's been 1 year. It'll be to the week next week. The reason why it'll be episode 52 is because there was 1 week where we did miss 1 week, and that was after a hurricane that hit us.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a tree laying right next to the house and we didn't have power that weekend. So that's good old earworms lore. But we will be
Yeah.
celebrating next week 1 year, and we're celebrating it with This Is Spinal Tap.
Right on.
The band we all wish we played in, and the life
Oh
we
my
all
God.
wish we had.
I need to rewatch that. It's been a while.
Hmm.
Good movie.
And we got it on dollar store DVD.
Yeah.
There's two other films on there. They called it Music 101. It's one of those DVDs that's multiple movies on the same one, and I forget.
Double feature.
No, there was three. I forget what the third was, but the second was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I think what
Six.
what the other thing on it is Tenacious D or something.
Oh,
like
that's right.
Oh
Yep.
my God. Jack Black. Woo.
Yes. Woo. That
Oh,
was
man.
a fun movie. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tenacious D. I haven't listened to any of that
Yes.
in a while.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
That's that's some outrageous stuff. Jack Black is hilarious.
Yeah.
So let us move on.
Some of the chord sections of this track were written by Alan White, which he strummed out on his guitar. This could have been the opening sections of the song because they share a similarity with White's later turn of the century track.
Okay, let us pause this here, and I'm going to go over to back to our album section so we could hear a little bit of part two.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to switch scenes, and it looks like we are still here. And we are going to play. I have to get back to the. Oh, I could probably just hit track ahead, and it should go to part two. There we go. Okay, but not at the beginning. Let me get it to the beginning so people can reacquaint themselves with it.
Go for it.
There's that reed organ, beautiful.
As the silence of seasons on, we relive a rich sails afloat. As to call like birds, so shall sing of the velvet sailor's course on, of the velvet sailor's course on. Shine, O moon, send me memories trail over days of forgotten tales. Course the compass to hover into a time that we all seen on, into a time that we all seen on. Hide the memory carry on, while the moments start to linger. Sail away among your dreams. The strength regains us in between our time. The strength regains us in between our time. As we shall speak together, also the ends meet, the river
I'm gonna pause there. I think that's a good example. Now remember, there's about maybe 16 more minutes of this, and it does change a bit. There's the change in the middle and everything, but I mean, I do get visions when hearing this, and just impressions from the lyrics of you know members of humanity, kind of like sharing stories, singing, dancing together, and kind of like passing on knowledge in that way. Just as if you were to like have like a praise and worship session, or um, all all sorts of methods of it could be something where not in a ritualistic sense, because this is meant to be in like a folk sense, like folk music or folk writings of smriti, meaning uh, passing down ideas through the legends, and in many ways the divine speaking through our words as we do such things. Rescue me, Mike. You were about to say something.
I was about to say something.
I think so.
Oh my God. Hmm. Must have
The
been
mu-
my alter ego. I don't know.
music's beautiful.
Yeah.
I gotta sit with it, with the lyrics to, really. It seems like they wanted to write a stage work,
Well,
just
there
like
was.
with Genesis. They wanted to put together a stage work, and
Well, you would not have been disappointed, because their shows did have scenery, also inspired by the artwork of Roger Dean, who
oh,
did the album
I
covers.
like that. Wait,
So,
Joser's trying to get in. Let me let in and set up cat cam.
okay, well, we just might have a cat to come save the day.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, their stage was definitely, it was a show, and they were thinking about that when writing this music. They wanted to be able to expand and contract sections so that it would work live with the audience, and they could go off of the audience's energy. And so, anyway, let's continue with the documentary a little bit. When Liza gets back, I think we're gonna have to test ourselves on our animal intelligence.
Oh no.
Uh-oh, there's Chris Squire. Nothing says 70s like that bass line. Muddling throughout, I think, because in many ways they want to express what they wanted to express. They were kind of drawing on inspiration, but saying what they wanted to say at the time. And I mean, the name of the band definitely kind of says a lot, because they were very positive in spirit, and wanted to have uplifting music, that didn't just, it could definitely address problems, but in doing so also talk about the potential answers or potential solutions. And a lot of that had to deal with the connection between each other, and uh, bridging gaps, and establishing a connection between human beings, and at least realizing that while we have differences and everything, at least we don't have to fight each other over it, or harm each other, especially over it. And so,
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it, Jon Anderson. I think he was more kind of an ideals kind of guy. They imparted ideals and thoughts without necessarily telling you what you needed to believe or do.
right.
And
And the music is very
and
and
uplifting.
spiritual.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's not like saying one faith. I knew, like in college, a lot of Christian artists really liked Yes, even though it's not. It is pan-theological in a way. It was at least good messages, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, very uplifting. Which, oddly enough, I didn't really realize in my teen years. It just really didn't,
Well,
that part of it just didn't really initially connect. I just liked the music, you know.
as an aspiring, musician myself, and the guys that I hung out with in high school and everything, a lot of it was about the music. We were listening to, like, Rush and Yes, and now this was in the '80s, we were listening back to, like, more classical groups at that time, or would have been thought of that way, you know, like Yes, Rush, Genesis, and for the musicianship.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, absolutely. And I can kind of relate because in the mid '70s when disco hit, I said to myself, "Hey, I think there were a lot of
Disco.
bands." What
No, no, keep going, Mike.
did you say? You love disco?
well,
No, no,
this is something he
no,
needs to address because he's kind of bashing the '80s and loving the '70s, and
No.
'70s did have one kind of stamp on it in the middle there.
Well, yeah, disco, which I think led the way for the crappy music, MTV music of the '80s.
Uh,
And because people suddenly, and I had a girl say this to me when I was in college, and I was talking about Yes, and she's like, "Ah, them guitar solos. If you can't dance to it, it's not music." And I thought, the hell is she talking about? Even the instructor stopped and said, "What are you talking about?" And he started, name, classical music. And, when all that crap came along, I was like, there was some other good bands in the '60s, CCR, and
yeah,
a plethora of great bands. But yeah, I was
yeah.
not a fan of the disco and all that stuff.
No, I mean, I guess there what was referred to as dancing, as I'd like to contend, is like a lot of the poppier pop music, is focused on fashion trends and social things, more so than deeper concepts. And
It's also
disco's a great example of that because it's not dancing like you could dance to Yes and other music like that. It's just more free form. It's not the kind of dancing you do in disco, which is mostly, you know, um, shall we say, like a precursor to a mating ritual.
well, it's
You
like
know what I mean?
it's conformed dancing. Where like Grateful Dead, that kind of stuff is freeform dancing. That was more conformed dancing. You had certain moves and certain things, and you did the same thing over and over. But yeah,
the thing is, I'm not gonna knock that because although I don't like disco, I do like salsa and merengue, and they are formulaic dances. It's the music I grew up with, and that's what we did at parties. I mean, it's
Yeah, and
there's
after three
nothing.
songs, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with functional music
Well,
for
I
a
mean,
fun.
depends.
you have an achy breaky heart too.
There's
Thank you,
oh
Ricky.
no.
Oh
Well,
no.
Line
Oh,
dancing.
I want to learn. I don't know how to line dance.
Hey, to each their own. I'm not.
well,
I'm not.
like I would
Want to
say,
go.
is you can dance to Juan Luis Guerra, and it's interesting, and it's also musically interesting, and
Exactly.
very danceable and popular, as opposed to somebody like, like Elvis Crespo, who composed one song, and every other song is basically the
Oh
same one.
yes, I can see that. Yeah, Juan
Yeah,
Luis
that's another
Guerras was
thing.
a songwriter, a composer, a poet, and yeah, Elvis Crespo. It really is the same song over and over and over and over again.
Well,
But
that's the music industry, and that's what I kind of hated about that stuff was, here's our pop hit wonder, let's put out more of that crap.
right,
And it
but
was
there
all
might
about it's
be.
all about the money.
I don't know enough about disco to say that there weren't artists who were trying to break through, you know, the industry and showcasing their stuff. I don't know enough
Oh, I'm sure
about it.
there were some, yeah.
It's just like Juan Luis Guerra. Yeah, he did merengue and he did bachata, but he was a poet. He was a
Yep.
songwriter. And his music videos were beautiful and they had meaning. All of his songs have a either he's making a statement about something that was going on in the day, or you know, he's an
So
artist.
he was a serious musician.
Hmm.
Yes, he was, and a serious
Exactly.
songwriter. But he is known for his merengue and bachata, which is, for all intents and purposes, functional music. It is for parties to dance. You know.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Well,
just,
that's why I brought him up, because it's like one of those things where you could do that. You can write great dance music for like a party atmosphere, but actually have a bit of meaning in there in the lyrics. That
Yeah.
it's not as simple as, oh, now I'm going to get some enemies. It's not as simple as do the locomotion with me.
Yeah.
Or, you know, uh,
You know,
anyway.
I ain't gonna say nothing because
Okay. Well,
I've taken my music from, you know, things that are very abstract. Well, not necessarily abstract, but to most people it sounds abstract, to some getting into very, very, very primal blues. Simple primal stuff,
and what's
you
wrong with
know?
that?
There's nothing wrong with that, but it
Oh,
is formulaic.
I mean, I
And
realize, my music is very commercial, and I mean, I'm not loud. I mean,
oh man.
always
Well,
doing the same shit over and over again, just trying to get YouTube subscribers. It's all about.
no, but your music is it can be broadly appealing because there's a lot of care and attention to it, and it's not something that is complicated. You can definitely feel it. You put emotion into it, and
yeah,
someone can just hear the rhythms and the in some of the music, or just the freedom in the flute, and just connect with it emotionally and not
it
have to
doesn't have
study it.
to be complicated. I've always thought this. It doesn't have
No,
to
I'm
be
not complicated.
complicated
I'm
to,
creative.
yeah.
That's my forte. I mean, I take different instruments and blend different things together, and
Right.
things that
Th-
you don't normally hear, and
There's complexity in everything that's
that's my thing.
composed honestly, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was telling somebody today that actually bought my latest uh, release, and I said I'm actually, because I'm my worst critic, and I think I'm too hard on myself, or so I'm told, but I really think some of the stuff I've been putting out this year is just really good. Actually,
Hmm.
I mean, and that's hard for me to say. I'm kind of like, yeah, it's all right, or
Well, when you
yeah, it's
listen to it,
good.
you enjoy it, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
Like,
and I'm listening to it. Yeah, I mean, and I'm going, wow, I'm going, wow, that's me. Just like,
yeah, that's pretty much what I strive for, is
yeah,
just to enjoy what comes out of me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And when you can do that, yeah, and you're actually like, wow, I want to listen to that,
Yep.
Hmm.
and you
Yep.
and you
Yep.
go, wow, that's intense. So it's a good feeling, and you hope other people are saying the same thing, because I mean that's what you want to do as a musician, progress.
Yep.
So anyway, what were we talking about? This band? Yes.
Yeah. Johnny boy here.
Reference that this song taps into distant cultures with Indian, Chinese, and Central American influences. None of this really links though with the Hindu concept of Purana, which is more about mankind's links with one another and our ancestors. That's what this side of the album was supposed to be themed on. As it stands, it's the side 4 song lyrics that have more connection with this concept and how we all interconnect with each other and the universe, especially the Nous sommes du soleil part. Likewise, the tribal percussion presented on.
Yeah, and that's where this Nos Sommes du Soleil is kind of also referencing some Native American civilizations, and that's going to be coming up here, and how sun worship was uh, prevailed throughout the Americas.
On side 3 would have suited the tantric concepts of ritual, dance and ceremony. That's something the side 4 was supposed to be about. I feel on reflection, it's like Anderson either got these concepts and songs mixed up or swapped them intentionally. And with no one having a clue what the album is really about anyway, maybe no one noticed. The first half of the track includes a list of different words for various ancient sun gods, most of which Anderson manages to pronounce correctly.
Salty sun.
All right, let's see. Do we know any of these names here? Yeah, Roman Sol, and then Hindu name Shoop. Looks like Shoop. And then we have their Persian name is Us. Iwus.
Got me on that one.
Yeah, well, that's all right, but that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
Aken. Let me see. Aken, that like from Akhenaten, who worshipped the Aten, which was the sun disk, the ancient Egyptian pharaoh.
As much as I adore this track, I always feel about 2/3 of the way through, the band kind of run out of ideas and decided to literally bolt on another acoustic track to escape a kind of spiraling mess. Shoehorned in at the end of side 3.
Okay, so he's talking about still the part 3 here, and kind of like an acoustic thing that he felt was kind of like shoehorned in, he said, in addition to the rest of the music. I don't know, could be. But as I felt like in part 1, there was like an abrupt change there that didn't have a transition as much. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say unless you were there in the studio and the decision making, because Yes does that now and then. They do some abrupt changes where like okay, we're done with this idea and now just start the next one. And,
Right.
But either way, once you get into it, it's fine. It's just, for me, sometimes those transitions, not having a transition, just sudden changes, is one of the things that is a little more difficult for me. But let's just keep going.
Leaves of Green is perhaps robbed of being enjoyed more as a song in its own right. This section was originally played as an electric arrangement that kind of fitted the original song slightly better. As it stands, it's a beautiful, albeit slightly disjointed coda that was played live as a standalone piece for many years to come.
All right. I am going to pause here. I think we'll finish up this documentary after we do a little bit of something that we like to call
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh,
the reliable
no.
AI.
Oh no.
Why should Rick Wakeman and the boys escape this?
No one can escape the AI.
How about that? Does that look like a Rick Wakeman in concert?
With an extra hand?
Does he have
Oh
an extra
yeah,
hand?
yeah. There's
Two
yeah,
hands out of one sleeve.
yeah. That's AI.
Ah, well, he was like a spider.
I see.
I shouldn't say was. I believe he's still alive. He's still with us.
Yes. Yeah, he's still alive.
Okay. Rick Wakeman album. Is this the cover of a Rick Wakeman album? He did have solo albums.
Yes, I believe it is.
Yes, it's from a soundtrack he did for The Myths and Legends of King Arthur. He did a King Arthur documentary. It was in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
it had that Rick Wakeman sound in it. Good stuff. A little bit of choir and stuff going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, stuff to be checked out. So that is not an AI creation. He did that.
No.
Nah, there's something wrong with the keys there. Yeah.
There's a lot wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing that gave him the most, Six Wives was one of them, yes. And the other one was Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Uh-huh.
Both those concept albums, kind of made his solo career. But
But he never strayed too far from the band because we'll see some things coming up. I'll be quiet a little bit here because we do have some.
Oh, yeah, Eraserhead said that's King Theoden.
Okay, yes, could be King Theoden. In fact,
and there he is without a cape. See, he looks like a spider.
He does not look like a spider. Where'd this guy get that?
I'm joking.
well, when your arms are flying around between all these keyboards that are circled around you, I guess you.
You know what these music critics do? They don't know anything, so they just make stuff up. We know they do that. They've done it
Yeah.
to you.
That's why they call them critics.
Yeah, they like to use lots of
Second-
different adjectives.
oh my
Many of them don't
gosh.
fit.
They do. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
do you
my
still
music-
have that? If you still have that review, we should read it.
I
to
don't know if I have it.
everyone's- I'll try to find it somewhere. It's somewhere on the internet.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
Lawrence Budman, some reviewer,
Lawrence
classical
Budman.
reviewer in Miami, did not like a piece. That's not what she does, folks.
Not at all. He just didn't know what to do with what we were doing.
Yeah, he didn't know what
Not
to
at
say.
all.
Yeah, but anyway, but he knew he had to insult it because one of his colleagues was the wife of the chairman that was trying to take over the department.
Oh,
Huh.
So anyway, here we go. Rick on Top Gear. Was Rick Wakeman on Top Gear?
I don't
No.
know.
I don't think so.
Yes, he was.
Well, I
He
mean,
was.
the picture looks real. I don't know the answer to the question.
Well, it is a real picture and a real
Well, I
appearance.
can't tell who that is because the picture's so small.
I know because I
That's Rick
can't do
Wakeman.
graphic
Yeah, I
design
mean,
to
the
save my
picture looks
life.
Real. I just didn't know whether he was on Top Gear or not.
Something is tapping
Well, remember,
on...
when I say Top Gear, the only thing I refer to as Top Gear is the years that it was Clarkson and May and Hammond in it, and that's as far as I'm concerned. That was the only Top
What
Gear.
is going on?
But
People.
yes, he was on, and he actually did a thing around the track, and he also was playing keyboards at the side of the track while other people were going.
Okay,
It was
people, something is tapping outside of my window, and both Inga and Joe's are in, so I'm going to go see what that is. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's probably the possum.
No, let me go see what it is, because I don't know what it is. I want to know.
Interesting trivia.
No.
This is King Theoden. When Eraserhead said that before, I was like, wait till you see what's coming up. Oh, yes. Not really Rick Wakeman, and not even King Theoden, really, but an amalgamation. All right, and then we have here some... I heard a yelp.
That's way too small.
I might have to check on, what's her name? Well, this is there's not a lot to see here. This is basically a topographic map of Earth's oceans, and the answer is no. It's an AI creation.
As I say, it kind of looks weird.
Yeah, and even though this may look weird, I need to enlarge these. I need to enlarge some of them on here, but that's a real topographic map. But the one thing about topographic maps is they do a little sneak peek there. One thing about topographic maps is they do imply depth. And when coming up with the name for the album, it was originally going to be Topographic Oceans because Jon Anderson was into astronomy at the time, and there was some sort of phenomena that happens in October, and he came up with he made up his own word for it, topographic, and kind of like in line with the Celestine bodies and everything. This album was supposed to be about you know, as the harmonies of the universe and everything going on. And that was originally the idea. And then someone told him, well, about the word topographic, and he thought that would work too. So he went with topographic. But that implies depth, almost like in passage of time,
Right.
the deepest parts of the ocean and sedimentary layers and all that sort of thing. So, and I think that works best with the album title. But
Are we gonna
things
have
do.
to send out a search party for your wife?
Maybe I heard a Yelp before, but I don't think
The cat disappeared.
I don't think a Bigfoot came in or anything. But yeah, maybe I'll check here in a moment. If we
Oh no.
Nope,
It
there she is.
sorry, it just surprised me. Because when the cats scratch on the window, it's more like
Yeah.
but this is more like a human knocking on the window. And I went out.
Knocking at the door.
It's that big possum. And yeah, and he hasn't left. He went to the
Oh.
other side of the porch. He ate Brufy's food. He wants to be a pet possum.
I see.
But we haven't chased it away because we have a rattlesnake we want him to catch. And so he has to do his
Yeah,
job.
possums are good to have around.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with possums.
Flav says, was it a trash panda then? No, it was a possum. Not a raccoon. Possum.
Trash
Eh, eh.
panda.
Trash.
Trash panda.
Those are raccoons, man.
But the thing is, I don't know if this possum is friendly. I've never tried to approach it or go near it. I've never seen the cats interact with it, so I don't know if I should be concerned about it taking up residence on the porch permanently. But I do need it to catch a rattlesnake, so I don't know what to do. It's big. It's a big possum.
Yeah.
It's like the size of a big cat.
Possums have like an immunity to rattlesnake poison. So
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they typically go after them as a food source.
They're omnivorous, and they can go after, and they have gone after snakes. And the reason they can do that is because they're immune to snake venom. We do feed it Flav. I leave it cat food on the porch. I need it to catch a possum, but I don't know why it taps on my window when I'm in my office.
It wants food.
all of us behold the great possum of life. Do some Jon Anderson there. All right, so is this Rick and John? Oh, Rick put on some weight there.
Yep.
Yes, that is them.
That-
And I must
Nope.
say,
No, no.
well, I wanted Rick Wakeman and Jon Anderson, but it gave me three. I don't know. Looks like a cross between Rick Wakeman, Jon Anderson, and Tim Curry, in a way.
Eraserhead says it's real.
Yeah, this is.
It's real scary.
It's really
Yeah.
scary. Oh man, what? But Wakeman never stayed far from the band because they had that Other band, Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. I guess as Yes was in the 80s, they in late 80s, they still had the name Yes for what was it? Jon Anderson, Tony Kaye, Trevor Rabin, Chris Squire, and what the heck, Alan White. They had to have a different name for when these guys got back together, and so when they did that at first, it was Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe, which was, you know, at least three of the original members. And so, yes, that is real there. That is Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. And then they had the Yes
How
Union.
looks like Elrond.
Yes, he does.
Yeah,
And
he even dresses like him.
Rick Wakeman can do a Theoden in his older years.
Yes. How fortunate for them to age
And once
into
again, they cross paths
Elvis.
with what would be later King Crimson. Tony Levin played with them.
Oh, yes.
He was not, I do not think he was on the album. He was not the original bass player, but he did join them on tour. So,
Mm-hmm. Yes, Tony Levin. Great bass player.
yeah, I never saw that particular lineup, but I was reading something from somebody who did, and yeah, they said when Tony Levin joined them, it really added a lot to it. I'm sure it did. And yeah, that's what are you doing, man? Multiplying the weird.
Well, it's just the Yes Union tour. That's where all the members of Yes
Sure, it ain't the Herman's Hermits
by the
tour?
late 80s got together.
Okay, let's just get the Renaissance Fair one out of the way.
Well, I didn't ask for a background. I just I put in some names of members of Yes, and this is what I got. They all kind of look like a real distorted Rick Wakeman. It's strange. But anyway, is
What
this
is-
a
No.
well? This is a
Chinese
concept.
Wakeman.
Is this a Rick Wakeman fish?
Oh, everyone
Flav
knows
says
Chris
that's
Squire is
disturbing.
This is really disturbing. Yes. I should have had this first because this is what it's referring to. In the backside of the album, there are some fish laying on the beach, and one of them is separate from the others. And people think that that was Roger Dean's indication that Rick Wakeman was going to leave the band because he was kind of going off on his own, so to speak. And even though it's not necessarily known if that was Roger Dean's intention, there is a backside of the album with 5 fish on it, and one of them kind of estranged from the others.
Yeah. Paul is dead. Paul is dead.
Who's Paul?
The Beatles. Paul's dead. Rick's dead. They're all dead. In other words, I'm saying it's bullshit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm calling bullshit.
Well, that's
I don't
only,
think Roger Dean. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I could be wrong, but I really doubt that was his intent.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, how would he know as the artist? But anyway. Oh, is this speaking of Roger Dean, is this one of his creations here?
I don't think so. Oh,
No, it is AI. And then, sorry for the bummer at the end, but that's the end of them. So we can end this torture. And how about we finish the documentary? We have one last part to go. And then
What?
we can,
No Renaissance Fair one? Oh.
no. Well, the one had shrubbery in the background.
No, you always have a Renaissance Fair one, and you forgot to generate one.
huh.
Yeah.
I guess I should do that.
Yeah.
I do like Ren fairs. I don't know if we'll ever go. Well, certainly not that the summer's starting. That's going to be hard. Renaissance Fair in Florida heat.
Well, depends on where it is. It could be a forested one.
And you want to get a whole day's worth because you want to get your money's worth.
Oh yeah.
And now you could pretty much go out either before 10 or after 4.
Yeah.
From
maybe.
10 a.m. to 4 p.m., it's like blazing hot most days. All righty. Not just hot, but humid. Kind of like Vietnam. All right. Now, let us continue and finish the documentary. Oh, yeah. There are stars. Is Steve Howe your inspiration to play sitar, Mike?
No, I don't recall Steve Howe ever playing a sitar.
Huh.
He played a couple different instruments. No, that would have been George Harrison.
Oh, okay. All
And
right.
You think that might be a synth?
Oh yeah, he used guitar synth. Yeah.
Yeah. So it might be that. It might not be a real sitar.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
still cool.
A lot of the
Hold on a minute
sitar
here.
that came out of that, yeah, on a lot of these albums was the choral.
Ravi Shankar or something.
No, it was the choral electric sitar, like the
Oh,
Stones used for Paint It Black, which yeah has a sitar type sound, but you know, it's night and day between a real sitar.
okay. Well, we're going to hear, I guess, a little bit more of this, but I'm looking this up, and at least according to Google Gemini, it says yes, Steve Howe played sitar on the Yes album Tales from Topographic Oceans. He played it
Yeah.
on the track The Ritual, which is the one we're talking about now, track 4.
Well, alrighty then.
The sitar is featured alongside other instruments like lute, which I know he played that, and backing vocals. So yeah,
Okay.
you can watch Steve Howe on Yes tell a few tales from Topographic Oceans. What? Oh, I guess there's a video where it's called Tell a Few Tales from Topographic Oceans. Interesting. All right, so it was a real one. Now, is AI counting an electric one as a real one or not? I don't know. We'll see. But it was a physical instrument, I guess. It definitely sounds electrified.
He used a Dan Electro choral model. It was an electric sitar.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked it up. I was like, yeah, that sounds like an electric one. It does have a sitar sound, but
Yeah.
As mentioned previously, this song would have been better suited to the Hindu concept of Puranas, the ancient, and the links to one's past. And as if to allude to the band's own history, about 4 minutes in, Howe can be heard playing a few notes from close to the edge.
Yeah, I guess he's pointing out there that this is almost like, well, talking about Purana and the ancient days, but I guess it was part 4. I thought we were on part 4 already, but I don't know. Maybe we're still on ancient.
Furthermore, throughout the track, Howe can be heard replaying various themes from the album, especially as it crescendos towards the end. The original idea was that the final track would conclude by revisiting all these themes in a jazz style. When played live,
Oh, I remember that Wakeman had a bit of an issue with that. I mean, he didn't feel that, he could do a jazz style justice, but they wanted to do kind of like a jazz style, like recapitulation of all the tracks or all the album's themes. And that was one of the disagreements he had with them.
the first part of this song features some wonderful bass phrasing by Chris Squire. However, it's arguably Alan White who is the star of this show, not only for his thunderous primal percussion climax, but also for the Hold Me My Love part that follows it. This precursor to the Nous Sommes du Soleil ending was originally written by White on piano. And in many ways, I
So,
think he's the
Alan
only
White,
songwriter of
not
this
just a
album.
drummer.
no,
Yeah, and I think like Jon Anderson, well, more than just tambourine, doesn't he also play a little piano and stuff too?
Jon Anderson plays a lot of, yeah, he plays piano, he plays guitar.
Yeah.
He does use the acoustic guitar in performance
Mm-hmm.
on some songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does some percussion, drums. I think he plays a harp as well.
Wow.
I don't know about on this album, but I mean, he has on, I know on Awaken, which is on Going for the One There's a little harp part in it.
Yeah, and on his solo albums like Toltec and Deseo, I remember he composed those using the software I was using at the time, Cakewalk.
Yeah,
So
he did a
it's kind
tour.
of
I would have
cool.
loved to have seen it. I've listened to some of the, bootlegs. He did a tour where it was just him solo, and he talks a lot about, how he did things and, what parts he wrote on, guitar or piano or whatnot. So, yeah, he's, aside from having a great voice, he has some musical
Yeah, and that's how he's
inclination
able to
for music.
write a lot and so forth and know what different members could do. Now, of course, there'd be disagreements and things would change as the other members would put their parts in, but you have to have some knowledge of some of the other instruments and how they're played in order to at least give people a direction and so forth.
Right.
All right, so let us continue here. Alan White also played some piano.
We hear a sound, and all to our returning. We drift the shadows and course our way back home.
With the album still a month away from release, the tour began on the 16th of November in Bournemouth. The disillusioned Wakeman managed to play
Bournemouth. Good old Bournemouth. Never been there, but I've heard a lot about it.
a mere 8 shows before announcing to the band that he was leaving. For what were mainly financial reasons, he was persuaded to stay on until the end of the tour. The set list remained pretty constant, with the whole of Close to the Edge being played, and then the whole of Topographic Oceans. But by February 1974, the Remembering had been dropped in favour of Starship Trooper. The band improved their stage design and lighting considerably for
The Remembering, the High Memory, the High Memory, that's one of the ones I really like that. That's a shame they replaced that. But I don't know. I guess you got to do what you got to do.
this
Gotta
tour.
do what you
And
gotta
recordings from the time reveal noticeable gasps of awe and exclamations from the crowd as the tracks open. Anderson would give an introduction to each of the movements, including at times a brief history of the Sanskrit language.
Wow. So yeah, Liza, this was an all-around experience. Get some lessons, musical performance, and as you can see, the stage was really well done up with lighting and some of the stage props and scenery. I
Very
think
cool.
As a curtain
Sorry, I'm
raiser,
having a
some
cracker.
US fans were treated to seeing a huge hot air balloon flying outside some of the venues.
yes, they had yes balloons in the United States. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to
The infamous Wakeman curry was eaten at the
Oh.
Manchester Free Trade Hall.
very important.
Apparently, Wakeman was
Ooh, that
telling a
looks
roadie about
good.
wanting to go for a curry after the gig. The roadie in question apparently misheard Rick and assumed that he wanted one there and then on stage, and promptly returned with a chicken vindaloo, poppadoms, and onion bhaji, which Rick promptly tucked into during the show.
Yep.
The curry itself probably came from the Rajut restaurant, which is only 2 minutes walk from this venue, and still operates today and has done since the 1960s.
All right. Yes, I was going to move on, but I'm glad we got that in there because I do love curry and vindaloo. I mean, India is the only country where I could be a vegetarian, I think, because they make it taste so good. Okay. So we are going to finish things up by hearing a little bit of music. And that means I should be in this. Yeah, this
Starting
scene.
all over again.
Yeah, we're.
No.
It's a roundabout. Okay, so here we go. We're going to hear track 4, Tantra, the Ritual. There, as you can feel from it, it is a celebration of ritual in a way. It's almost like a Yes concert. And, just it's music you can dance to and definitely be free floating and a little bit of free form dance. You could whirl to that, as many people would at Yes concert. So, anyway, I'm feeling very lonely here. I'm feeling very lonely here at the end of these days.
Only.
Yes, it's the end of my tantra. My weekly tantra that is this journey into earworms. So anyway,
If you want to, I thought I saw this a while back on Reverb.com. They have someone that actually has the Steve Howe collection. You can get. Now, I said in the 70s he used a GR300. In the 80s he went to the Roland GR700 guitar synth board, and you can actually buy this on Reverb for $5,364. You can have Steve Howe's GR700. What do
wow.
you know about that?
Does it still work?
It better damn well work for $5,000.
Oh, wait a minute. Do we have is that a Rumble rant? No, not a rant, but a Rumble. We have our Rumble, our first Rumble person of the era, and I can't say the name. It looks like Run 4747.
You can't dance to this.
Sure you can.
I have to respectfully disagree.
You just move your body. Just move it. It may not be conventional dancing.
No, but you can free form dance to about anything.
Yep. I do have a video here to play. But it's good to see that we have someone live on Rumble. I've done a few chats from Rumble here and there. But the thing is usually
What about deadheads?
what about oh yeah.
Well, I mean, she said people at Yes concerts that dance look goofy. I'm like, wonder what you'd think of a Dead concert.
I remember my first exposure to the whirling ones because I was still in high school, so just getting to the age of going out to concerts. I saw a Paul Simon tour. It was called the Born at the Right Time tour. It was after Rhythm of the Saints, and it was 1 week after they were in the Central Park in New York City with the double album set that was released at the time, and they came to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and I saw them at Hershey Park, and yeah, out there in the outdoor arena area, there's people just like spinning around and everything like that. I thought I was at a Grateful Dead concert. Stuff. And yeah, let me share a video here. I have one video from featuring Rick Wakeman that I did not include thus far. And so let me load her up. And there we go. This actually saw some stuff on Bob Moog several months ago when we did a Bob Moog episode here on Earworms. One of the synthesizers that Rick Wakeman used was a Moog synthesizer, a Mini Moog, and he tells a story in this video about his Mini Moog experience.
My first encounters with Bob came after, didn't they? It came after I actually discovered the Moog. There was a studio in England called Advision Studios, and a guy called Mike Vickers had bought one of the big modular systems. And he couldn't afford to pay for it. So what he did, he left it in the studio because he knew that when keyboard players came in and saw it, they'd go, "Oh, great, can we have a go?" And then the guy there would say, "Yeah, but it's going to cost you $50 to have a go on it." And that was how we made a lot of money, and we used it a lot.
Wow, charging people to play it.
A lot, and it was fantastic. And then I discovered the Mini Moog.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you know the very first story of how I bought my first Mini Moog.
How was that?
Well,
Just so people know, that's Bob Moog there. I don't know when this was shot, but obviously before he died. And Rick Wakeman's actually looking to be in pretty good condition then. So here we go.
the manager that we had at the time, it was a bit of a villain. He said, I've got an actor.
Yeah.
He said, who works for me. And I'll tell you, well, the actor called Jack Wilde. He played, I can't remember what he was in Summit anyway. And he bought a Mini Moog. And Brian said he wants to sell it. I said, oh yeah. And he said he'll do you a really good deal because it doesn't work. And I said, what do you mean it doesn't work? He said, it doesn't work. He said he'll do you a really, really good deal, like half price what he paid for it. And I said, all right. Okay, well, I'll have a look at it. And there wasn't anybody who fixed them or anything there. So it arrived, and it was mint. It was all in all the original, because they used to come in the original, like plastic, all the big, thick foil and things. And I took it out, and I plugged it in, expecting smoke or something, and it all lit up right. And put the headphones in, put them on. And it was like it never been played. It was absolutely perfect. It was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. This is not a joke, but it's absolutely true. So I thought, well, I better be honest here, and I left it on soak all night, still fantastic. And I phoned up Brian, the manager, and I said, look, I've got this Mini Moog. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. He said, well, I don't understand. He said, I'll get the guy on the phone. So he got the actor on the phone, and I spoke to him, and he said, I've got to tell you, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. He said, no, he said, I've tried it a lot. He said, I can only get it to play one note at a time.
Yeah.
And I said, it's monophonic, it only plays one note at a time. He said, well, that's no good to me. He said, oh, you can have it. So I bought it for half price, and that was the first one. And then I went out, and over the course of the next 2 years, I bought another 8. So I ended up...
You see, you needed more than one note at a time.
Oh, they were fun. That's right.
Good one there from Bob. It's like, you needed more than one note, so you have to buy 8 of them. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Monophonic. You got a lot for that one note at a time.
Right. Well, they were fantastic. I used to use 4 on stage for yes, and then 4 around. And I think the Mini Moog is, because I had was it the P model, the one that was the modular one?
Yeah.
I had that, but for on stage, there has never been anything surpass it. I mean, it changed the face of music. Absolutely changed. I mean, for the first time, we were talking on the radio station the other day when you could, for the first time in your life as a keyboard player, you could go on and give guitarists a run for their money. Because before, the guitarists were always nice and loud. Oh, here comes a keyboard solo. Really quiet, everybody going. But suddenly we had something that was louder than them, that would cut through concrete. I mean, when you saw guitar players, they hated it. When Keith's the keyboard player, oh shit, he's got a Mini Moog. So they're looking for 11 on the volume control. It's the only way they can compete. And there's, nobody's ever come up with anything like the Mini Moog. No one. To me, that's the most important keyboard instrument that's ever been made. I'm not saying that because you stand there, but it is. It's the most important one that's ever been made because it changed the face of music for people.
All right. Bold statement there. But yeah, the Mini Moog was a phenomenal synthesizer. And when they say mini, it's not necessarily that mini, but it was a great sounding synthesizer. And
Still is.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can still find them. Yeah, so that's the thing. They were challenging guitarists with them. Oh, I see Liza's thing is lighting up. So she's taught. Oh my goodness. I guess I have to switch tabs. Liza, go ahead. I can't. Let me see if I hear you.
Hello.
Hello. Did you hear Liza?
Hello in there.
Did you hear
Is there anybody
Liza?
in there? Just
Yeah, Mike, do you hear me?
I hear Liza.
You do? Okay, I didn't.
I hear you.
And I was switching.
Do I hear ye?
Here we go. Welcome to Hear Ourselves on Earworms. No, I'm not hearing Eliza. I'm not hearing her sound at all right now, and I was switching tabs and coming back.
Nope, he's not hearing you. Oh well.
Well,
Let's
it's
just end
back. The good old Evie Muck's glitch of where I don't hear her. It's back.
I think it's the end of the.
Yeah, we're at the end of the evening. Is there anything anybody wants to say? If
No.
Liza wants a response, maybe Mike can just repeat what she said to me. I don't know.
You can close it. Yeah, I got to go. My wife's out of town, so I need to go take care of the dog before she starts barking and going crazy.
Alrighty. So
I forgot to let her out. Well, I was gone all day yesterday. I got home late and I fed her, and then you can't hear me either.
I can hear
Okay,
you,
good
Mike.
night.
No, I can hear you, Mike.
Oh,
It's just I only hear you.
Oh, okay.
So, well, that's awesome. So we're going to end now. And everybody, enjoy your dogs or cats, whatever you have to go home to. Listen to a little bit of Yes tonight. Be positive. Don't say no. Say yes. To yes.
say
And-
yes. It'll be a good day.
So, Liza, if you have any parting farewells, please do it now.
Good
I won't
night.
hear it, but I saw nothing there. Nothing happened. So I think she's done too.
Nothing's going on.
All right. So good night, folks. Thank
Good
you
night,
for
everybody.
joining us. Next week, we will endeavor to tap your spine a little bit, your spinal cord, see if we can get it to wake up and all that sort of thing. So next week, 1 year anniversary of Earworms. This is Spinal Tap. And for now, we'll be saying goodnight as we've been accustomed to doing the past few weeks with Olivier Doucet playing the national anthem.